Hello, everyone. This is Rebecca from Seawolf, and I'm really delighted to have Paul Waye here. Um, and just a quick intro to how I met Paul. I first heard of him on a local Facebook group here in Sandport in the Netherlands, where he was picking up trash wearing a Formula One racing driver style outfit, complete with helmet. Yeah, I'd seen in the background there. And then we subsequently met up, and I also have seen him in action clogging. So it's waving from my balcony. But I'll allow Paul to introduce himself. So, Paul, please go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for letting me be part of this, Rebecca. Yeah, so my name is Paul Way. I'm 57 years old and I'm an expert living in the Netherlands. And I'm a plogger. And what plogging is picking up trash while running. And I kind of like to do it in an extreme kind of way, such as was mentioned there. I'm sure we'll be talking about that more. But yeah, I just live here nearby in the Netherlands in Haarlem. And just from my daily running, I pick up 40,000 liters of trash.
Wow. And uh, on on that topic on trash, just maybe so people get a bit of
Yeah.
an image, is that sort of bin bag full every day?
Yeah, that's so I run every day. So I do a lot of running and the 40,000 liters of trash, if you think of that over a year, that's around 2 full bin bags a day.
From there. Um, So, and then maybe, Paul, thank you so much for sharing about plugging, and we'll definitely talk about that later. Um, but for today, we're talking about financial services, sustainability as well, but maybe just going back to some of your experience. You also worked in financial services, a bit like me. So, what's your connection there?
Yeah, exactly. So I've been working. I've been in the IT industry all my life, and so for 35 years I was working within IT and predominantly within the financial sector. So I've now actually become a professional plugger that I'm sure we'll talk about later on. But up until that point, I was just working in IT, and it was predominantly in banks. So I've worked in a lot of the big banks that we all know, such as Royal Bank of Scotland, UBS, Barclays. So I've worked in quite a few and in different countries as well. So and also private banks. So when I was working here in the Netherlands, I was working for a small private bank, which was a completely different aspect to suddenly, going from a huge investment bank to this sort of private bank. It was a real sort of shift in everything. So I've worked quite a lot across the financial sector.
Great. And how was that experience for you? How did it look and feel during your time? Perhaps how did you see it evolve during that time?
Yeah, the benefit of being old is you actually get to see change. So, whereas in 50 years' time there'll be more plastic than fish in the ocean. Well, I actually can look back and see sort of the change in the financial sector. So when I joined the financial sector, I mean, I aspired to work in the financial sector. That was the place to be. If you were the creme de la creme in the IT world, you would be working for a bank. They're the ones that had the money. They're the ones that attracted all of the top dogs within the IT world. And I'm not saying I was one of those, but I wanted to definitely learn from them and aspire to them. I wanted to work in the best place. I wanted to try and get be the best IT person I could, and so it was the financial sector. I mean, you've seen that change now over the years, and you've seen that switch that's now gone on to the actual the IT sector itself. So whether that's Google, Apple, etc., they're the ones that are now attracting the star players. And so it's been quite interesting to see how that's changed over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been a little bit similar in the field I work in as well, in sort of finance, accounting. Uh, Back in 2000 when I graduated, that was really the destination of choice going into banks
Yeah.
in London. But things change over time, and the financial sector itself. It's not just those very large banks, it's private equity, all sorts of other types of financial institutions, fintech, and stuff as well.
Yeah, and the other change that I've seen as well is in terms of, and it's interesting to, I've sort of had that, um, I've been able to look back over time and see it change in terms of the financial sector and IT within the financial sector over that long period of time. But I've also been able to see culture differences as well. So whether that's going from working in London to coming to the Netherlands. So, I've worked in a culture where it was the reason why I am with my wife now is because we were working together, and there was no chance of actually meeting anyone else, because I would get up at 5 in the morning and I'd come into work, and then at 7 o'clock or 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, it would be, right, should we just go to the pub? So we went to the pub for a drink and then went home, and it was just, and then repeat. And it was just that. The only place that you could meet someone was actually at work.
And yeah, it's funny you say that because it's similar for me. I met my partner at work, and when I think about that job in the bank, it was a group consolidation accounting role. It was so intense. It was in Zurich and very long hours, relatively small team. So wasn't that much time to go out and meet other people, but we
I
did
know.
spend a lot of time together. And actually, I'm very
Yeah.
grateful for that.
Yeah, and I loved every moment of that. That was a real fun environment to work in. It was work hard, play hard. That was how it worked in that time. And now you see there's a real, I don't know if it's because I'm living in the Netherlands now and there's that shift. There's a boundary between work and personal, whereas that boundary didn't exist in when I was there in London.
Yeah, for sure. I think my perception is that has changed as well. And perhaps then, before we sort of move on to what you're doing now, when you sort of look back and reflect on that time, are there any sort of particular takeaways? Sort of mention a bit more the personal side, but anything good or bad, or just takeaways from that experience?
I am going to say that Um, we'll come on to the plogging. So we'll come on to the
Mhm.
environment. We'll come on to my mission to make the world a better place, for lack
Absolutely.
of yeah. So all of those things, and so people find a real, if you are this person now, how could you be that person then? And and so I think for me, I can. For me, it's all about personal behavior change. So, you know, does legislation need to change to have a future in the world? Yes. Do companies and corporates need to change to have a future in the world? Yes. But they aren't the only two parties involved. There's actually people, and
Mm.
people are in governments. People are in the corporate sector. People, for me, are the ones that need to change. So, and I've one of the things that I've really got out of the financial industry that I've worked in all of those years is there is no there is no sort of bad and good. There is no sort of everyone. We're a mix of everything. I've got
Mhm.
so many positives that help me in my daily life in terms of the environment as a result of the financial sector. And a classic one is actually Barclays. Barclays have core values, and one of them is stewardship, to leave the place better.
Mm.
Now, for me, I've adopted that, and that is at my core. When I run and pick up trash, I literally am leaving the pathway cleaner than it was when I was on that pathway. I am, in effect, living those core values today, and that was true with all of those other the banks I worked in. Is they've all had elements that have let me become the person I am today.
Yeah, and I can share that as well. I think I've got my own sort of memories and learnings from the experience, and I absolutely don't regret it. There's a lot of really solid foundations there, and I think you're spot on about people. I worked with some fantastic people during my experience in financial services, and
Incredible
a mix.
people.
It wasn't all good, but that's life. That's normal. But there was some really good times there as well.
You can work for the best company in the world or the worst company in the world, but it all depends on that person who's in that desk next to you.
Absolutely, for sure. Um, And then now turning to what you do today. So I'm assuming you've moved outside. So maybe you could talk a bit about that blogging and maybe even literally outside by the sounds of
Yeah,
it.
I think just because we're sort of talking about the financial sector and things like that, it's sort of worthwhile putting the whole journey in context, because
Mm,
there was actually sort of a bit of a shift for me. So for before Brexit, for 10 years before Brexit, I was actually based within the Netherlands, sort of working actually in this office that you see now, working in here, but working for these banks in London. So or in the case of Royal Bank of Scotland, then it would be in Edinburgh. So I'd be working for these companies based on my desk here in the Netherlands. Brexit hit, and that just sort of put a sort of an end to that. Suddenly, if I was a consultant, they would always pick someone within the UK market rather than someone within Europe, and it was, yeah, financially it was just a bit of a nightmare. So Brexit hit hard, then the pandemic hit hard, and so I was looking for a job and trying to get a job in the pandemic. I just got something I could, and it was outside of the financial sector. I thought at that time, let's give something else a try as well. And so I went into logistics and transportation, and so I was there for 4 years, and I missed that financial sector. I know we're going back to it, but I really missed the energy of the financial sector, and I never really gelled fully with this job. So I was kind of relieved when they made me redundant. We had a redundancy round, and I was secretly hoping it was going to be I was going to be in it this time. I sort of managed to avoid it so often in the past in the financial sector, but this time I was actually hoping it would be me, and it was. So because if not, I would have to sort of look for another job. So this year I lost my job, and because of the way that the government is set up here and the unemployment agency is set up, I could I could actually change careers. So I went to the unemployment agency, and they said, "Well, yeah, well, what do you do?" I'm IT, and I was like, and then they said, you can change jobs. I went, "Oh, can I?" Yeah, yeah, we'll actually support you as well. That I thought that's kind of cool. So I went away and I thought about it, and I thought for 13 years I've been running and picking up trash. I've been living this sort of doing that in all my free time. So every moment of my free time was dedicated to trying to inspire people to pick up trash, to be more aware of the environment. And I was doing that, and it was just consuming every element of my time. And I thought I'd always had this dream of making it a career, but never really had. I'm not a risk taker. I never really had that ability to say, yeah, I'm going to put my house at risk and I'm just going to drop everything and then just do this. But because of the government, they gave me a chance. So I went back to them. I said, right, I'm going to change jobs. And they're, what are you going to do? I'm going to run and I'm going to pick up trash. And they're like, "What? Oh, whoa, 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 what? We thought you're going to be like a painter or something like that." No, no, no. I'm gonna do this. So yeah, since October, I am now a professional plogger. I'm sort of the first one in the world, I think, in terms of sort of the true essence of the term, where I this is my day job now. After this podcast, I'm going out for a 2.5 hour run, and I will be picking up trash, and I will be filming it, and I'll have logos on my shirt.
My goodness, and that's quite a change. So, firstly, for those who
Huge.
don't know what plogging is, like,
Yeah, yeah.
what does it mean?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and that's the common question. That's what happened when we went to the Chamber of Commerce. They were like, "So so what do you want to do?" "Yeah, I want to be a plogger." And they were, "Oh, a vlogger?" "No, no, no, a blogger." "No, no, no, a plogger with a P, with a P." Yeah, so plogging is actually a word that got invented in 2016 by some Swedish people, a Swedish couple. So what they did was they combined two words, which is plocka up, which is pick up, and jogger, jogging. So they combined it into plogger in Swedish, and in English it's plogging. And that was in 2016. But I had been doing it before then. So I'd actually started in 2011 when I was working at Barclays. So I was the way I started was I was running to the train station. So I was living at just, as I said, I was working from here, but every now and then I'd have to go into London. And so I'd stay with my parents in Sussex. And to get to work, I'd have that sort of lovely long commute that so many Londoners have. So I had a sort of a 5 kilometer commute to get to a train station, and I used to run it. So I'd run to the train station. It was beautiful, idyllic countryside, and I'd be running there to the train station, and I just looked in the hedgerow, and I saw all this trash. And it's the trash everyone knows. It was bottles, cans, fast food packaging, plastic packaging, and it was just there in the hedgerow. And it was one of these idyllic country lanes in Sussex where there's no footpath. And I thought, if I don't pick it up, who will? So I I decided to pick it up. I had a handful, ran to the train station, and before I put it in the bin, I made a tweet about it. So I know on the 29th of September 2011, that was my first official plog. And I'd say I was working at Barclays. And I would just do that on my run commute. So I'd sort of do that all the time. So, although the word plogging has only been around from 2016, I'm not the first person that did it. People were doing it before, but we didn't have a word for it. So I was in England at the time, so I just used the hashtag keep Britain tidy. That's what I grew up with. And so yeah, I was, before I knew about it, I was plogging before it was a word. But now that we have a word, it provides a community. It provides a word that we can use around the world to say we are picking up trash. And it doesn't have to be running. It can be walking your dog. So when you go outside, if you're doing an activity and you're picking up trash, you're plogging.
Yeah, wow. And that's so interesting to hear about that origination story as well, and how it just emerged very, very sort of organically. And I know you do these mega challenges as well. And as I said in the intro, that's where we met. So it'd be interesting to hear a bit
Yeah.
more about
Yeah.
perhaps that most recent one or any plans you have.
Well, yeah, I've got quite a few. So that I've got a few catchphrases, and one of
Mhm.
my favorite ones is, when you pick up a piece of trash, you make an impact. But when people see you doing it, then you can make a difference. So picking up that trash helps, but it's when people see you, then it connects with them, and it can actually start like a stone in the water, and it just creates these ripples that go through. And so I try to be seen. So will, and I love doing crazy stuff anyway. So I just try and make it the crazier the better. So for the people that can see on the video, there's a banana suit behind me. So I'll go and pick up trash in a banana suit, and just because, and I'll be playing disco music. So I would do that quite often. And so what people hear is they hear the disco music. Disco music is music everyone knows. It's happy music. So you get a smile on your face before you know, without even subconsciously, you just got a smile on your face. And then you turn around, you see this banana, and this guy in a banana suit running down the street, and you start laughing. You're like, what the hell is that idiot doing? And then you see, hang on, he's picking up trash. Bang. You're being seen, you're making a difference. That might have a conversation with someone later on in the evening. It might have, or maybe you see me the next time, and it starts then a conversation with me or with someone else. And that is an idea to stick in people's minds. So the one that we saw was perhaps one of my most fun adventures I've had. I've done other crazy things like run marathons with outfits made of cans I picked up off the street. So 600 cans, and that was a flag and everything. And that was a bit crazy. I did Rotterdam Marathon in it. But I think the most favorite one I've had was the one where we saw each other for the first time. So that was the Dutch Grand Prix. So in February, so sort of 6 months before the event, the organization and the council here in Sunfort, they sort of came up to me and said, we love what you do. Yeah, they've seen me in the banana suit. So there you go, bang. So that connection is formed. Otherwise, it'd be just a guy running and picking up trash, and it wouldn't be noticed, but it gets me noticed. And it started this conversation from that. And they said, okay, we love what you're doing. Can you do something for the Dutch Grand Prix? And I said, you want me to do a cleanup, don't you? And they went, yeah, let's do a cleanup. I went, no, because a cleanup is just one event for one area, one day. Yeah, you get a bit of media attention, but where's the fun in that? Let's do something that has a bigger impact and has a bigger meaning to the community. So I said, and I'm going to caveat this in February. So in February, I said, why don't I run every single street in Sunfort picking up trash? I'm going to plog every street, and I'll do it in the 2 weeks before the event. So that was going to be around 200 kilometers. And then I said, and I'll also do it in a racing driver's outfit. If you get me a racing driver's outfit with the helmet, I will do it in that as well. And with the intention of, and this comes back to, I think my mission really, it's not about the trash. It's not about the negative element of trash on the ground. We've got enough negative stories. The world and the news is full of horror, of catastrophes, of problems. I want to bring a positive story. So for me, it's not about the trash on the ground. It's about the positive action of picking it up. And what I wanted to do over those 2 weeks is go to every single street to try and make it look at its best. I want the world to see how beautiful Sunfort is, how beautiful the Dutch Grand Prix is. I want it to look at its best for the world before the event. So that was the reason why I did it in the 2 weeks before. And a bit like when you spotted me on that Facebook message, it was amazing, and it turned into an even better story. It actually turned into a story about community, because what
Mhm.
happened was I posted on the Facebook page. Someone suggested, "Hey, look, they've got an active Facebook group. Why don't you just post it?" I just posted there saying, "Look, if you see this idiot in a racing driver's outfit, just wave. It's me. I'm picking up trash, trying to make Sunfort look beautiful." And the community, wow, incredible. They were just so amazing. It got to the point where every, just like you saw me
Mm.
waving at me from the balcony, it's exactly the same thing on every street. Nearly every street I'd have to stop and take my helmet off and chat to someone. And or that there was one beautiful time where I was chatting to this person, just telling them the story and everything. And this guy just came out of his house and gave me a can of Coke, a really cold can of Coke. It was a hot day, and he just gave it to me, and then he walked off. I didn't want to stop and chat, didn't want to do anything. He just said, "Bang, you've deserved that. You're doing a great job." And it just brought the community together. It was so incredible. And for me, that's what plugging is about. It's a positive story, and it happens when you pick up that piece of trash. You're putting a positive story out into the world, and I just try and make as many positive stories in the day as I can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it goes back to that people piece again. And I certainly um, can reflect some of the community piece and lots of people talking about it in a buzz and sharing about
It
seeing
was
your efforts. It's
amazing.
great.
Yeah, it was just so fantastic, and so that's the project that I've just done, and what that showed me was with the what I call the Canuary dress, the one in the Rotterdam Marathon when I ran in the 600 cans. That went viral. That went sort of suddenly on TikTok. I got 400,000 views, and kids were coming up to me and going, "Hey, Cam man," and things like that. Even to the point where sort of 6 months later, running I'm running in a banana suit in a shopping mall in a place I've never been, and these 2 kids, sort of 13, 14, went, "That's the can man. That's the can man." So I it's a yeah, so something that is just crazy and absurd goes viral. But what I saw was with, going back to the Dutch Grand Plog, as I called it. So with that one, I saw that you also need something that has has a build up. So I'm trying to make the biggest impact I can. I want to be like Kim Kardashian. I want to have 10 million followers, not because I want to be cool, but because what I do is cool. And I think if I can inspire, let's say, 10% of the followers I've got, then I want that 10% to be as many people as I can. So all these adventures are there to be seen, to make that difference. And so next May, what I'm going to be doing as a professional plogger is I've got free time. I can just, oh, let's just do something for a month. I don't have to go to the office on Monday. So let's do that. Let's maximize my time. So next May, brace yourself because this is truly ridiculous. It also has to be bigger and better every time. And it has to really be something where I think, can I actually do this?
Mm.
So next May, I am going to be doing what I call the 12 Steden plog. So that's a 12 city plog. So the Netherlands is made up of 12 provinces, and each province has got a capital city. And I'm going to run and plog between each of them in a continuous loop. So I'm going to be throughout the entire month of May, I'm going to be running a marathon a day. So 31 marathons in a row in a banana suit, picking up trash and then running 1,300 kilometers around every part of the Netherlands. So I will start off where I am in Haarlem, go all through Den Haag to the Hague, and then sort of head down to Maastricht, and then up to the very top, and then back again. So it's going to be a continuous loop, and I'm just hoping it's going to be like this sort of wild Forrest Gump affair where I start off with I've got the beard already, but it'll probably get longer. So I'll start off with maybe two people, but I hope by the end of it that it creates a buzz and it creates that community, and I hope a national community, that we have a big group of people just sort of just plogging with me on the towards the finish line if I can make it. But I'm 57 years old. 31 marathons in a row is going to be quite a challenge, but we'll see how it goes. So that's next May.
Wow, my goodness, that just sounds amazing, and, we'll sort of share it along with the podcast, but if people want to find out more, where can they find you? What are your social
Yeah,
media
so
or
so
places to
social
look?
media. If you just Google Way of Life, then and that's WAYE of Life, then you'll probably come across me. And it's on Instagram is my main platform. I've got a website wayoflife.com, so there you can see it. And and if there are companies that are that are listening to this, then I can only do this through sponsorship. So in effect, I've got this great package of things that benefit the sponsors, because for me, I want to make it as rewarding for the sponsors as I can, because in effect they're letting me do a dream. They're letting me live a dream of picking up trash, of going running and picking up trash every day. That is my core business, and they're enabling it. So part of this is to be seen, and then with sponsors we can really get the reach that I think that we can get with this is potentially huge.
Yeah, I agree, and, it's also such an achievement. I think I've done
I
2
haven't done it yet.
marathons.
I haven't done it yet.
Wow.
I haven't done it yet. It's an
Even the
achievement once I've
thought
done it.
but yeah, well, potential achievement, but just the thought of it, I think to spread over 2 years was enough for me. But, um, you mentioned, you might go for, I think it was a 2.5-hour run later. There's this sort of challenge of the consecutive marathons in the future, 200K, with the Zandvoort, which, is just huge amount of running, and I
Well, it
assume
actually
you're
got
not
crazy.
slow, but
So
I'm curious,
the
yeah.
actually go back to that Sunfall thing, because it kind of it was so fantastic. So the idea was to do it 2 weeks before the Grand Prix, and I thought, okay, I'll push myself and I'll do 200 kilometers in those 2 weeks. I thought that would be good. But in that suit, it was crazy. People like said, "Are you not
Mm.
hot in that suit?" Because I had the helmet on for the whole time. And I said, yeah, well, when it rains, I'm sort of cold and wet, but when it's dry, I'm hot and wet. So whatever happens, I was soaked through in that thing, and I was like, that 200 kilometers was a real tough challenge. It's a full on fire retardant sort of protected suit. It wasn't a fake thing. It was completely real, and it was exhausting. But the organization, they loved the community pickup so much that they said, "Hey, Paul, we love what you're doing. Can you do an extra 4 days?" And I went, "Oh." Well, actually, I didn't. I said, "Yes, I'd love to," but then I was like, "Oh, but the 200 was such a nice round number for 2 weeks. What can I do?" And then my crazy mind, one of the rules I live by is like, how can I make it tougher than it is? Or how can I make it more epic? And so I thought, right, I've got 4 days. What can I do in the 4 days? So I thought, what I'll do is I'll do an extra 106 kilometers in those 4 days. And then that will mean it will take up the distance I ran to 306.6 kilometers, which was the distance of the Grand Prix itself. So, there always has to be something sort of crazy. I always have to sort of take it further and push it further, but it's to push me further so people see how dedicated I am towards this. I really want to um, be real in what I do. This is not AI. This is not fake. What you actually see is maybe it's the best elements of me, but this is all real me. That 2.5 hours I'm going for after this, for our 2.5 hour run after this is I will be doing that. It's not, oh, I did it last week. No, I'm doing it every day.
Yeah, it's super impressive. But I was going to ask as well for people perhaps who would rather walk than run, or maybe they want to do sort of shorter distances. I think it's really the more the merrier with this piece. Everyone to get involved.
Yeah, it's going to be so everyone will be able to sort of see where I am. They'll be able to join me for 100 meters or for 10 kilometers or a marathon. It's up to you. Don't yeah, a bit of a full day marathon. But yeah, I really want people to sort of join in. And what I do is not with the intent that people do the same. Don't do
Mhm.
that because what I do is stupid. Yeah, what I do is crazy and deliberately so. But the cool thing is when you pick up a piece of trash, bang, you're a plogger. And you are as important. You are making as important a step as a person that picks up 1,000 pieces of trash. That act of picking up a piece of trash suddenly says, I care. I care about the future. I care about your future. And how many of the world's problems would disappear if we all picked up a piece of trash, if we all cared? And that's
Yeah.
really the story behind it is to say, yeah, don't do what I do, just do one piece. If you do one piece, you're a superstar.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree. And yeah, although the power of those individual actions, it really collects into something really huge and massive. So we can each make our changes, however big or small they may be.
Yeah, and
Um,
there are no rules to plogging, so that's the important thing. Is if people ask me, okay, how do I go plogging? Do it however you want. If you want to do it when you're walking the dog and you pick up a single piece of trash, bang, you've done it. You can go for a run, but I mean, whatever you do something small. Start off small, make it sustainable. Sustainability has to be sustainable.
yes.
It has to be fun. If you make it fun, it becomes sustainable. So don't think of the negative aspect of people on the ground. Think of, bang, I'm cool. Look what I did. I made a difference. Pick up a piece of trash, put it in the bin, and think, yes, I rock.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you do. I can
That,
definitely say.
yeah, yeah. But for me, it's an excuse to run slower.
Well, I'm definitely on board with that. And I was also curious with your running, do you sort of track yourself and those sorts of things? Do you look at your speed? Is it really more a case of collecting the rubbish, just very practically? I know a lot of people are on Strava and Garmin's and looking for all their super fast times and those sorts of things. I assume it might be a
Yeah.
bit different for you, but
Yeah, so
I'm curious.
I've sort of done plogging with different people, and you can see sometimes they get a bit stressed. Their average is going down, their speed is going down. So, yeah, for those people that are a bit stressed, just do it on your warm up or do it on your cool down. Then fine. Then you just enjoy the run for what it is. Having a clear boundary between plogging and running is an important part. And um, for me personally, running is my passion. That's where my heart lives. But plogging is my commitment. It's a commitment to myself, to my family, and to you. So yeah, just yeah, but yeah, I track everything on Strava, and and I also use an app called Clean Something for Nothing that just lets me sort of prove. Going back to the AI, it's not. It's all real. It has to be real. You can look at my Strava account. It's open. You can see how much I run. You can look at the Clean Something for Nothing app, and you can see how much I've picked up. And that's one of the things, that level of accountability is super important to me now that since October I've become a professional blogger or I'm trying to be a sponsored blogger. It's important to me, and yeah, I think that is just so. so important to me. I want to be so fully transparent, also in terms of how I get money, in terms of how I can do this. The reason being is if I can make this a success, if I can become this first truly professional plogger and make it work, then that's a business model that I want to share around the world and say, this is how I did it. This worked, this didn't. Because if I can do it, someone else can do it. Someone else can go and use the same financial model and business plan and actually say, right, I'm going to do it. And I'm fully behind them. And I really want to encourage them. I want this to become a profession. I don't want the Chamber of Commerce to look at people and they go, right, what's your new company going to be doing? Plogging. I don't want them to be going vlogging, blogging. What is it? I want them to go, you're a plogger.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, again, here to that. I think that would be great for sure. Making that difference as well and scaling with other people joining or doing this themselves. And perhaps that's a bit of a loop back to your experience in finance and some of those changes and shifts, and then this a new direction more recently. Um, if you could go back to that former self, is there any advice that you would give yourself based on what you're doing today, or are there any suggestions you would perhaps give to people who thinking of doing something different and are in some of those roles similar to you in the past?
I think I'm going to go. Oh, right. I'm going to go a little bit further back. One of the reasons I made a big life decision in 2017,
Mm,
and I think I can. I think I can relate this back to IT, even though it sounds. It's going to sound a bit like I'm sort of my decision actually took me away from IT. But in 2017, I asked myself a question of, "Am I happy?" And the answer was, "Yes, I'm happy." I am. I'm happy. But then I asked a follow-up question. Am I happier than I was last year? Am I happier than I was last month, yesterday? And the answer was no. What I saw was I was slowly getting less and less happy in life. I saw that it was only a very gradual thing, but I figured at some point that happy state is going to turn into unhappy. I want to be happier each year. Each year, I want to be a little bit more happy. And I think that's something that we can sort of strive for. And so, what I did was I looked at elements in my life that made made me that brought me joy. So, I stopped doing triathlons and I became a. I'm getting into the financial sector here. I'm looping it back. Don't
mm.
worry.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so I stopped doing triathlons. I was sort of a person that said he was a triathlete and never did many triathlons. So I stopped doing that and went to where my heart was, which was running. I I I sort of became vegan. I sort of realized that sort of that element in my life was important. And the other thing I did was I looked back at my 17-year-old self and I saw an ethical, moral, idealistic person that I missed. And so I decided to do things to make him happy. So, in terms of the yardstick of will I be happy with the life I have led, I will be judging it against would that 17-year-old version of myself be happy with what I've done?
Mm,
And so that is my yardstick. So in terms of finance and sort of in that sector is look for those moments. Is it doesn't only has to be a small change that you've done within the job that you're in, within the sector that you're within. There's always some element that brings you joy, some element that you're proud of, and look for those and savor those and see if you can build up on those. And within the financial sector there was so much that it brought me a work ethic, it brought me core values, it brought me elements, and also it it showed me, I think we talked about it earlier on, about sort of the good people. Every company has got these good people, yeah, sort of learn from them and things, and sort of move on from that. I can't remember. Was that, did I answer the question now? I was sort of just going down a rambly road there, and I can't remember if I answered the question. But I
Oh,
think
I
that,
think so, yeah.
oh, well, you have to play it back. So some people's going, "Why is he talking about that? He's not. Wasn't he asking a different question?" But yeah, I think there's so much I've got out of the financial sector, and I wouldn't change. Oh, that was it. I wouldn't change anything because it's led to where I am now,
Mm.
and I think I'm not really one for regrets. But yeah, I'm super happy with some of those decisions that I've made in there. I've made a load of really bad decisions, but yeah, there was a lot of things that have made me who I am that I use today from those years working in the financial sector.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And it makes me think of the Steve Jobs quote that I'm about to butcher, which is something that you can only connect dots looking backwards. You can't connect them looking forwards. And I often think about that. There's all those dots, or history, or work experience, or life, or growing up, and somehow they do all connect. But it's just being open to change, just being open to new ways of doing things. And sometimes things start in a really small way, as you mentioned a bit earlier with your run on a commute and picking up that first piece of rubbish. Sometimes
Exactly.
it's not the big bang stuff. It can be something quite small and gradual that changes.
Yeah, and yeah, and we mentioned the stewardship in Barclays. That was, yeah, they would just give it. They were just they were literally, everyone had to attend that course about the core values of Barclays. Everyone had to attend that course, and they were, and I think 95% of the people attended it and then just left and things like that. But for me, I came out of that going, stewardship. Wow,
Mm,
that really resonates with me. And there's a moment in your day. It doesn't matter what financial, what business sector you're working within. There are these moments that can really provide a dot that you will connect later on.
yeah, absolutely. Um, and I think also the other piece you mentioned was about joy, and I think leaning into those places as well. I know that's something I try to do, and sort of find those areas where you do find energy, whether it's personal life or work or sustainability or nothing to do with that at all, but just trying to lean into those
Yeah,
places
and
that give
it
you
was quite
energy.
it was quite interesting when I was mentioned I changed sector briefly after sort of Brexit. It was, I really missed. There were moments within the financial sector that I missed badly
Mm,
because they brought me so much joy, and it was more of a sort of a culture and an ethics, sort of work ethic stance. And I don't know what it was, but there was a little buzz, that there was a buzz there that I really missed in that working for that. I don't know if it was the company or if it was the sector I would move to, but I there was some buzz element that I really loved. And it's only now that sort of come back. I can now say that the buzz is even bigger now. It's sort of, I am in effect living my dream, um, of running and picking up trash. But yeah, there was definitely some real moments of joy that I've had throughout those 35 years. I wouldn't change them.
yeah. Well, thank you. And yeah, again, I can totally resonate with that, as I'm sure many others can as well. So Way of Life, you mentioned the website earlier. Um, and thank you so much for the questions today, and we may talk again in the future, perhaps before or after some of your other big challenges, if you're open to that. Um, any sort of final words before we close up today?
Um, I think I'm going to end with my mission. I'm going to end with my mission statement. How cool is that? I didn't even plan on doing this. So I've got a mission statement, and there's one letter in it that is super important for me. And that's the very last letter in the mission statement. And so the mission statement is, have fun today, caring for our tomorrows. So it's not caring for our tomorrow, it's caring for our tomorrows. We are individual people. We have individual dreams. We have individual futures that we are hope for. But we can, just because I have a different one from you. Doesn't mean we can't work together at caring today and having fun in caring today to look after our tomorrows, whether that's my tomorrow or your tomorrow. So I think, go through life and think, okay, respect people and but enjoy yourself and yeah, pick up a piece of trash.
Thank you, Paul. I really appreciate it. It's a great way to end.